Give me just a second, y'all. Get the word out on both Spoutable and Post. And things are starting off just a little different today than I normally do. So give me just a moment getting the word out and popping off these things. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I will have my bonnet on in just a bit, but we're going to get this stream started in a bit of a different way today. Hopefully, my internet will hold out and all. I've gotten the word out, but I'm starting this Bonnet Chronicles Sans Bonnet for one reason because I want to open on a very serious note. Welcome to the chat, Reb Baron. This photo is of thank you. I'm definitely going to get to that, and I will have my bonnet on by the time I get to that topic. But I felt like showing off to one of my friends made a point that after I bragged in his chat last night about getting my hair done, that people rarely see me sans bonnet. And while I have pictures of myself, because I do a lot of hair care routine, including straightening, cutting, and curling it myself, I rarely go without my bonnet. So I wanted to both celebrate the life of Oshae Sibley and talk about the tragic loss of his life while showing that, yeah, hair's natural, went purple, loving it, feeling good, but I am still sad that I have to utilize my feeling good on such a harsh topic. Most people, when you say the name Oshae Sibley, unless you were genuinely lucky to know him personally, dance with him, have him in your life, probably wouldn't have known who he was. And it's sad because he was such a talented soul. People who knew O'Shea knew that when he was around you, he just wanted to make you feel good. He wanted you to feel confident. And he was trying to live his life authentically, as confident as possible, in a world that still doesn't accept his orientation, and in a community that knows oppression but still doesn't do right by the LGBTQ plus. And him and his friends were in a gas station just living it up. I don't know about y'all, but in black neighborhoods especially, gas stations aren't just to pump gas. Sometimes we hang out, sometimes we congregate. It's just a place to be seen sometimes. Like me just getting my hair did in the South, especially, would have been prime reason to hop in our hoop and go to the gas station and hang out just for a little bit. Whether it's just to get gas or get a drink, it was a place to be seen. And there's no different in NYC. The few of us who had cars, because for me, it wasn't a thing until I got south. But for the few that had cars in New York, the gas station still, especially in black neighborhoods, was a place to be seen. So for O'Shea and his friends to be there dancing, hooping it up while getting gas, shouldn't have been a big deal. But apparently, to a group of young men, they decided to take it upon themselves to be moral arbitrators. And now you got all these weird stories coming out about the situation. Some people are saying it was a group of Muslim men who were offended. Their religion was offended, so he took it upon himself, yelling homophobic slurs and stabbed O'Shea. Now, a new article headline coming out that no, he was a good Christian boy and his sensibilities were upset. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter what the faith was. If you're utilizing your faith as a way to murder somebody because their sexuality, which is none of your fucking business, upsets you on such a fundamental level, it ain't about that person's sexuality. I know some people don't want to hear that and it gets them in their feels. But if you're confident in who you are and how you're living your life, you're not worried about somebody else's orientation. So the whole excuse that our media keeps trying to come up with for why O'Shea was murdered is insane and absurd. Welcome to the chat, Cozy Beans. I feel like making excuses for the perpetrator's religion and reasoning isn't what we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on these young men were doing nothing more than dancing and having a good time. And because the suspects assumed things about them, and they might have even been confirmed because O'Shea was proudly LGBTQ. It shouldn't bother you what another person living their own separate life is doing. But we have this weird mixture of wannabe morality with religion that really they need a divorce from each other if we are going to save any kind of spirituality in the future. Because right now, the way it's looking is a lot of you supposed fervent faithful are angry, yous are destructive, and those of us who just want to be spiritual people don't want nothing to do with you. That's why so many of us have walked away from your weird cause. I believe in the spiritual, positive spirituality. I do not believe that faith should make people feel like they can't authentically be who they are. And O'Shea should still be here. She'll be dancing, enjoying his life. And I don't understand why we are trying to frame his murderer as anything but that. And we have to, as a society, get away from these ridiculous headlines that try to shape the narrative as this was some kind of moral thing. It's the same when they try to do honor killings, which is a near and dear personal thing to me because of my family roots, because of how much Southeast Asian family I have, and how dangerous religion has made normalizing killing women because, oh, she speaks too much. That disrespected my honor. Oh, she didn't allow herself to be married to this harmful person that disrespected the family honor. It all ties into the same thing and it has to stop. The problem isn't spirituality. It is not faith. I do not believe that. It is those who tie faith to these weird, arbitrary ways they live their lives that make it harder for those of us who want that spiritual path. Because we can't live that kind of life. I have no problem with somebody living an authentic LGBTQ plus life. Has nothing to do with me. It doesn't make me angry. I don't feel like I need to morally attack them. And that is the difference between me and some supposed holy roller, whether they happen to be Muslim, which the initial news reports tried to say, or Christian, which now everybody's trying to say. It doesn't matter what this person's faith was. They, at 17 years old, decided they were going to murder somebody. And we have way too many teenagers who are angry, filled with weird sentiments from supposed faith and literally their peers, and no real guidance on living and let living, and understanding that it's a big world and what works for you isn't going to work for everybody else. It's dangerous to keep making these excuses instead of educating our youth, especially since there are way more people who are actually growing up and realizing that it is okay to have gender fluidity, sexual fluidity, body positivity. Our world is changing in a more positive way. And we have these weirdo wannabe traditionalists that keep trying to hold us back. And it's got to stop. And this bleeds into tonight's main topic. So let me get my serious mode on. Because as much as I don't want to disrespect Shay's memory, I do want to talk about the main topic of tonight, and I've got to get back into my bonnet, which I normally wear around the house anyway, because it is for protecting my hair. Which anybody who has any hair care, whether it's black hair or non-melanated hair, you should really invest in a hair bonnet. It's a game changer, y'all. But I need to get into the opening, and there are so many write-ups and stuff on this, and like I said, my people did me proud with a lot of this, but y'all know what I'm about to talk about. Now, yesterday I had spent more time writing than being online, but I caught a lot of what was going on. I'm not on Twitter like I used to be. I get updates via email, so I had a kind of inkling. But when I jumped on Spoutable, when I said, oh my gosh, what the heck? because the Montgomery thing was already crazy getting it piecemeal, but being able to watch the video, being able, and I'm gonna play the song for you. It's only a minute 43, so I'm definitely gonna play that song. When I got the whole gist of everything that happened, when I said I went from dismayed to just guffawing, because people don't realize how tired black people are of just all the ridiculous nonsense that microaggressors, whether they are non-melanated, whether they think they're adjacent enough to white supremacies that just passed, have put on us. We're tired. So seeing this brawl, as they're calling it, felt good to me because I am totally queen of F around with me and you're going to find out at this point. I'm not going to look for problems, but I am definitely not the one anymore because I've seen way too many people continuously tread upon us because historically speaking, black people we've always taught to try to keep our heads down and keep out of trouble. When we were emancipated, technically, we were still put in a system that dehumanized us for long after rules of you can't eat here, you can't sit here. If somebody that doesn't look like you gets on, you have to move your butt to the back of the bus. Years of that constant racial microaggression. So a lot of us learned how to code switch, to humble ourselves, to try not to seem like we were problematic. But then we started raising kids, and I was one of those kids that were raised that kind of learned that no, you don't have to take that. That was our ancestors' burden, and they handled it well. But we're in a new day and age. Those of us who were raised under like Public Enemy banner, especially, said, you know what? We're not going to do that anymore. Nuck if you buck, fuck around, and you are going to find out. And for me in New York, especially, I handled a lot more stuff with my fists than I care to admit. And legally, since I never got caught on camera, I could probably say it now and not get into any kind of trouble. It's been almost 40 years. So. But for something like this to go down, especially in a port in Alabama, as I learned, especially doing digging, and Philip did a really good breakdown. That's why I have his article up here, and I will put all the links in the show notes for him. The port that this brawl happened on has such historical racial relevance. And I know some people go, Tan, that racist stuff makes me sad. It puts me in my feels. Stop it. You shouldn't feel bad for being white. You should feel upset that there are still people that act like this in 2023. It is not your lack of pigment that you should be upset about. It should be the actions of people who share that same feature still behaving like this in 2023. And the port of Montgomery already has a sordid history of being one of the ports where slaves were brought in back in the day before being auctioned off. So black people who live there already have that looming specter of our history that people try to say, well, it's woke if we talk about it. Yeah, okay. So that's already problematic, but we still continue on. And black people, by far and large, live in the Montgomery area. So that day, like any other day, the black workers on the dock were doing their job, and these non-melanated, as I like to call them, pontoon boat owners decided we're going to act entitled. We're going to stay where we want, and you can't tell us to move. In fact, they got off, left their boat there. So one of the brothers said, okay, we're going to try to move this boat because we have a riverboat coming in to the port, and we need this pontoon boat out of the way. Well, the non-melanated owners got mad, as they often do, because the world is theirs and we're all just living in it. And they decided to use violence. And it's okay, bet. And I will try to show some of the video, but I don't want to get copyright struck by anybody saying that I used their video footage, which is why the song that I'm playing did what they did as well, because a lot of things on YouTube is always subjected to copyright stuff. It's sad, but it's the reality of using anybody else's video format. But my people did record because we have to record to save our lives. So you got frame by frame of homeboy saying, look, you got to move your boat. The people acting with violence, him tossing his hat up, and then more people coming. But the highlight of that fight was the brother who swam in, which I need to dispel the myth that black people can't swim. I don't understand it, but I kind of do, because you might have a friend or two that maybe not learn how to swim. But as an island black girl, as somebody who has roots that way, we learned how to swim early on. Like, one of my earliest memories of a child is being thrown in the water and told, you're going to learn or you're going to drown. I don't know if it was a Gen X thing. I don't understand it, but I did the same for my son. By the time he was 5, he knew how to swim. So that whole myth that black people don't know how to swim may be a southern thing. I don't particularly believe that either, because every place I went to in the South where black people knew how to swim. So I don't know how that stereotype persisted, but it is kind of funny because homeboy got called Black Aquaman, all kinds of really creative names to pump him up. He also had his Cash App blow up so much that he had to take it offline, because people want to support each other when we support each other. And that's another thing you need to learn about this brawl, that we're tired and we will always support each other when one of us looks like we're in trouble. It was that comedian Tom Segura, before I realized how he kind of is problematic, that Action Wolf and I used to enjoy watching his specials, because he had this story about how he was hanging out one day at a park and some racist non-melanated type called another brother man the N-word in front of him. And now Tom Segura, as a white guy, was already like, you're not supposed to use that word, and was frozen. And then he said a bunch of black people came out of nowhere to help jump the non-melanated person that used the racist term. And I think people need to understand that, well, black people, we're not a monolith by any means. And we always have certain ways about us, especially when we don't know you. But when we see somebody that looks like us in trouble, it's innate in us to help. It is innate in us to involve ourselves, to try to either quell the situation or mitigate the situation. We just had an incident in Staten Island, my hometown, where this young man, 37 years old, the father of two, lost his life trying to break up two females fighting outside the club. He got shot by somebody who wasn't even involved in the fight, but was mad because he involved himself. But that is just our instinct. Whenever I was in New York, and this is why I left New York, because I was involving myself in way too much stuff. And I did not want to die by being that girl. I needed to calm my ass down. That's why living in the South really helped get a lot of that out of my system, but nothing's 100%. And I'm going to repeat that. I got a lot of my fight out of my system, but nothing's 100%. And I am living in Michigan now, which is further enough north for me to get away from some of the stuff I left behind in North Carolina. But still, there are people that try it here. They ain't as bad as New York City, and they definitely ain't as bold as those fools in Alabama were. But we have some wannabe Southern type rest belters here. And that's why I worry about me being in this situation, because I already warned Axiom Wolf. I'm not even going to ask questions. I'm just throwing punches at this point. Because there are way too many entitled people that think racist microaggressions is their societal right. They think they can just trample upon people because, well, they don't look like me, so I can treat them as less than human. I can do what I want. No, that is not how the world works. And like I said, we have had generations of going from trying to appease people and make ourselves smaller to realizing, nah, this is our country too. And we are not going to keep taking this nonsense, whether it's to protest, whether it's this brawl, which I am, like I said, the memes alone. Let me see if I can get this picture up, because it legitimately had me hollering. Let me bring this down. Not this picture of Oshae. Just the Avengers thing. And then the Good Times thing that I brought up on Spoutable. That chair, that uncle who had the chair towards the end, That was all of us. That was all of our frustration at the constant macro and microaggressions that some people put upon us. We all gotta live together, whether some of y'all like it or not, whether some of y'all think that we don't belong or not. We're here. Y'all's ancestors forcefully implanted a lot of ours here. And for some of us, we even have the duality of having native ancestors that were taken from their family and messed with it by the powers that be. So when I say you do have no right to treat us like we can't talk to you, we can't make you enforce the rules, like that homegirl in Central Park who literally tried to use her dog as a weapon on a brother man, then tried to weaponize the cops, and she fucked around and found out and lost her job. Then she tried to sue her job by saying they were racially discriminating against her, and she lost that case. Because it was clear as day that she was trying to weaponize white woman tears against a black man who's clearly trying to look out for a dog better than she was. What happened in Montgomery shouldn't shock anybody with even a small amount of decency. Even if you don't engage in racial microaggressions, you have seen enough in this day and age to realize that it goes on far too much, and it happens far too much for people that don't happen to look like you, to realize that people are tired. We're tired of not being able to exist in our own spaces. We're tired of people trying to tell us how to be. We're tired of trying to do our jobs and wear a certain non-threatening measure when our skin tone is treated like a threat. And we're tired of not being able to hit back when somebody throws a punch at us. And I'm sorry, if somebody hits me, that's it. I am within my rights to strike back. I don't care anymore. I am tired of people acting like, well, we shouldn't have resorted to violence. I had some cat on Facebook say that. And I know he was just trying to save his business. He's a small business owner. I fully understand trying to protect your means. But when you get on and talking about violence is never the answer, and this was a shameful act, when you literally see in the video that homeboy didn't throw the first punch, but he finished the job for those who wanted to try to jump him. Like, everybody wants to get into that whole violence is never the answer when we were the ones winning the situation. Had it been the other way around, everybody would have been calling for understanding. Oh, we have to understand that these people were just angry. It's the same excuses that they've made over and over. Like when they freaking raided several black cities over lies and excuses. Like what happened in Rosewood and Tulsa, Wilmington, Philly. Plenty of areas that should be thriving black thresholds, but white people didn't want it, so they attacked us. And how did the media frame it when we were literally massacred? Oh, it was a riot. Nah, we aren't going for that this time. There was no riot in Montgomery. It was a brawl. And it was a good to my soul type brawl. And I loved the memes. I loved how they had that brother with the chair strapped to his hip talking about his open carry. I literally have a folding chair in the back from one of the wrestling events that my friend went 2 years ago. It made me holler looking over at it the other day because we haven't packed it yet, and it's just like, well, I'm already packed. I got my folding chair. I'm ready. Anybody fucks with me, they're getting hit with that thing. It's heavy too. It's from the Civic Center or whatnot. It's a good sturdy chair. I hate the record collectible, but if somebody plays me, they're gonna get it. Just like, you don't want to laugh, but you kind of have to bring joy. And like I said, I'm not on Twitter regularly anymore. I use it mostly for advertising now. But Black Twitter did not fail us with both the memes, the captions, and I am going to bring up this song because it was hilarious. And unlike the video, I don't think Brother Man will be mad at me playing this banger of a song. It was well done. So we are going to listen to the Montgomery Brawl by G Mac Cash.
Lego. Hey, I'm really proud of y'all. Montgomery Brawl. Bitch, not one but them all. Montgomery Brawl. Shout out bro that can swim. Montgomery Brawl. Shit, really all of them. Montgomery Brawl. Shout out Unc with the chair. Montgomery Brawl. Everybody that was there. Montgomery Brawl. Threw the hat off at the start. Montgomery Brawl. Man, shout out to the girl. Montgomery Brawl. Hey, now y'all done started some shit, so we gon' finish. Y'all did. And this time, everybody about to witness it. Bro told them to move, just doing his job. But y'all wanted to jump him, so now we got a prize. Let's get it. All right, bet. Let me tell y'all what really happened. Heard they was jumping on my cousin. Let me off, Captain. Cuz came out the water like, let's get it cracking. Unc came with the chair like I got some ass. Cuz came no shirt like I got Sebastian. I got him. Even the women getting hit like, damn, what happened? And this shit was kind of lit like, damn, it's cracking. I even seen a rock bottom like, damn, this wrestling. Seen a couple of them boys go night-night. And we got the first black man to swim to a fight. Salute. If you mad at this song, don't mention me. Don't do it. But fuck that chair going down in history. And I'm really proud of y'all. Montgomery Brawl. Bitch, not one but them all. Montgomery Brawl. Shout out bro that can swim. Montgomery Brawl. Shit, really all of them. Montgomery Brawl. Shout out Unc with the chair. Montgomery Brawl. Everybody that was there. Montgomery Brawl. Threw the hat off at the start. Montgomery Brawl. Man, shout out to the girl. Montgomery Brawl. Yeah, this is a real good moment in history.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
Let us all smile.
Yes.
Salute.
Let me tell you something. Between that song, the t-shirts, the memes, my people took what should have been a troublesome situation and we just brought joy into it. I loved that song. And what made me laugh, because I know why when he put it on YouTube, he didn't do what was on Twitter. They had the video to this song synced perfectly. That was how I first found out about the Montgomery Brawl song. And it was perfect. Like, it legitimately synced up to all the videos. But like I said, with YouTube, they've been really funny time about showing other people's videos. They can copyright strike you, so it really isn't worth it. And that tune drops bars no matter what. If you've seen the video, you can already sync up in your mind. Because I watched that fight video so many times, I could still see the scenes without re-seeing it. But it was such a well-done video that I hope he gets the rights so we can put it back up the way it was. Because it was just brilliant. He lined all of the bars up to every bit of that fight. And it's like I said, I would love a society where we didn't have to celebrate such victories, if you want to call it. I want a society where people can just be people, where you don't have to worry about such racist microaggressions. But until we get to that, I am okay with my people winning the game of fuck around and find out. I am okay with the videos of black women who, like Mother's Day. Just this year, Mother's Day, there was a video circulating back when, we were between social media. This woman just going into a restaurant, just wanting to eat in peace. And this obviously non-melanated man deciding it would be her day to be picked on. And I don't know what it is about women like us that people just think she's easy prey. She's easy to call out her face or pick on. And he picked the wrong one, because I don't know about you, but I believe that any black woman over 40 at this point, we're raised differently. I'm not saying that lightly. We are just raised differently. A lot of us had to raise ourselves as Gen Xers. A lot of us are very self-reliant, and we are not afraid to throw hands. Because legally, if we're defending ourselves, we know we'll be all right. We also are technologically inclined, so we will be taping that ass whooping, which she did. And I watched that mess over and over again too, because girl beat the brakes off of that man. Y'all don't need to worry about our men being dangerous in this day and age. We women have been handling stuff for centuries. We are literally the daughters of our ancestral women who had to put up with horrors. So it kind of forged us to be a bit tougher species of human, I believe. So picking on black women is really at your own risk at this point. A lot of us have either diagnosed or undiagnosed mental health stuff as it is too. And for me, my toggle stays on violence. I'm just civil enough to keep away from people so that it doesn't erupt all the time. But I've always given that warning. You even tell people on social media, follow my crazy ass, get risk. There are always that people that look, oh no, she's nice. I'll just say, come out my face to her. What could be the bad? And then they learn. I'm not saying this like I'm some Billy badass either. I just know my level of instability. And I know that not a lot of people can handle it once they get the full force of it. So just a word of wise. Keep it civil and I'll respond in turn. You turn it up, you're going to see that side of me like those people that brawl. I bet you those entitled people were not expecting that many brothers and sisters to get themselves involved. Dudes were literally coming in. That's why I love that portal meme for Endgame, because it really did seem like they brothers were coming out the woodwork, because that riverboat had a whole bunch of people who were just trying to enjoy the day. In fact, the story went that the riverboat was trying to pull up in the dock, and people were saying, move, move, get out the way. You know, that song, because that pontoon boat did not belong in that waterway. But you can't tell entitled people where they can go, where they should be. They like to tell you. And instead of being civil about them being in the wrong, they decided to try to act with violence. And they were met with counter violence. And while there was some people who go, well, it wasn't fair for those women to be getting hit with chairs and stuff. If they didn't want to get beat up, they shouldn't have involved themselves. You know, fight or flight is a natural instinct for most humans. But there are some demographics that seem to think they have an immunity to getting hit. If you involve yourself in a massive brawl, whether you think that your presence is enough to stop it, which normally it isn't, you're going to get hit. Do I condone hitting like innocent random people with chairs? No, but you know those women that got hit weren't innocent. I seen the video. Few of them got taken away in handcuffs too. They were trying to cause as much trouble as possible, and they thought that their lack of pigment was going to get them out of the situation. And that's not how this works. I feel like there are people out there that y'all get it. You understand that we can talk about this situation, and it is in no way an indictment of you. But this is for the people who will look at the situation only as a black and white issue without seeing the fact that it is the actions of these entitled people that we are trying to stop. Because we just want to, it would have best been a happy day at the pier for most people. But you got entitlement mixed with booze, mixed with this is our place and you're beneath us attitudes that had to be literally hit with a chair for people to realize that that is not okay. And I need people to realize that what happened in Montgomery will continue to happen in other places if you keep the racist micro and macroaggressions going, because black people are tired. And I am talking mostly for myself, but I think I speak for a lot of people that look like me to saying we're tired. We don't want to code switch anymore. We want to wear our hair any way we want, whether it's natural or laid. We don't want people telling us how to be. We want our humanity to not be up for debate. We don't want you trying to tell us our history, which the only reason why True Black History, like the 1619 Project and other projects highlighting what we've gone through and what we continue to strive with, all of our triumphs and our tribulations, is because of not only oral traditions, but because we knew we couldn't trust the same people who pushed lies like Betsy Ross and other American history myths to actually give factual history. You cannot trust actual history to the factose intolerant. And I'm sorry, as somebody who actually loves history, really true history, not always clean history, which is why I stopped idealizing royal history after learning a lot about it. Because y'all stand some really messed up stuff. Like, y'all will make fun of Southern inbred stuff and ignore the fact that the royal family is full of inbred nonsense. Lots of it. Like, yucky levels. But when you know your history, because it is told by your people, whether people want to classify it as woke and plug their ears and cover their eyes, we know our stuff. My kid will know his history too, and he will be able to pass it down to his kids. Because no matter what this country tries to deem, you can't stop true knowledge from being passed down. What we want is for it to be common knowledge so that it never repeats itself. And the problem we're up against is that society wise, there are people who feel like their entitlement's in danger. Their way of behaving and believing that they're better is in danger. And that makes them so dangerous because they don't want to change the system. Because that changing the system means they have to behave better. And they don't want to behave better. They want to continue on these disgusting macro and microaggressions, and we have to call it out. All of you who want to call yourselves allies, and you know I pump the brakes on anybody who loudly tells me that they're my ally at this point, because actions speak louder than words. We need to condemn people who act out like this. So many people who want me to call out the brothers and sisters who joined in that brawl, which I'm not. I'm sorry. Just like I didn't condemn Will Smith for smacking homeboy for talking shit about his wife, I personally love it when people settle things the natural way. There were no guns, nobody died, but a lot of people got their feelings and bodies hurt with fisticuffs and chairs. If we could settle things with a quick brawl and get people out of our face, I think enough people would finally learn maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe we should pause. We might not like these people for whatever weird hangups we have about race, but we'll think about opening our mouths a little bit much. Like that man that I talked about on Mother's Day who got his ass beat by a sister girl. If enough of us start handling things the way we used to old school back in the day, because us Gen Xers, we didn't have cameras constantly recording the fights we got into, but this was how we handle stuff. And now we're older and we still have that in us. It's like, you know what? Bet. Just gonna take you down. If enough of us do that, eventually the people who continue to transgress upon us will learn. Y'all are a society of people that tend to learn that I don't want to get hurt by this. So maybe I need to back off. Maybe I need to calm it down. And I need people to understand that microaggressions isn't just the openly negative hostile. There was a video that I watched the other day where this group of people that look like me just wanted to go out for dinner in Colorado. They're in this bar ordering food, just minding their own black business, happy to be out. And this drunken patron, who was non-melanated, decided that he was going to say to one of the black women, "You're pretty for a black girl." As somebody who has had to hear things like, "You don't sound black," when I had my professional voice on when I worked in finance, and other really anti-black supposed compliments, those non-complimentary compliments, it's infuriating when somebody non-melanated says you're pretty for a black girl, because all black women are beautiful. Whether you want to accept it or not, we're beautiful. You don't have to like us. We don't have to be your cup of tea. But what you're not going to continue to do is perpetuate that racist stereotype that we are somehow not beautiful, because it's not true. It's been proven over and over that it's not true. That's why so many people are literally getting surgeries to have our features now, whether it's our lips, our hips, or our asses. So stop it. Stop playing. You've done played in our faces for centuries while knocking us up, having us as mistresses or worse, concubines literally. You do not get to tell black women that we're not desirable. I don't believe you. So keep your damn stupid racist compliments about how we're pretty for black girls to yourself. You could have just left that at, "Oh, you're pretty." And maybe been thought to be a little bit creepy, but thank you. When you say things like "you're pretty" for a black girl, that automatically tells us that you think that the majority of people who look like us aren't, and that is not a compliment there, Chippy. You're not doing us any favors by calling us pretty anyway, because most of us know. Because unlike you, we probably grew up in a home where people constantly told us we were beautiful because we knew we weren't going to hear that outside of the walls of our house. So we don't need your positive affirmation that really isn't. And I need people hearing this, hearing my anger in this, to realize that I'm more angry at the situation being normalized, that somebody thinks that they're not being harmful saying words like that, because it is harmful. It might not look like it, but those little microaggressions build up on our spirit and our soul, and it's stressful. And that stuff affects our heart. It affects our minds. It is not good for anybody's spirit to constantly hear stuff like that, because then you start thinking, maybe I should change myself. Maybe my natural hair isn't okay. Maybe I should try to get rid of some of my more African like features, because then I'll be accepted. One of the major news stories that have been being batted back and forth lately is what's going on in Florida. Because apparently DeSantis has gone full anti-woke, and you know how I feel about that doofus. He's never going to be president, but it's funny that he's trying to run. Especially since a lot of his party still want to back the domestic terrorists instead. But one of the things he tried to push, and claims that there are black scholars that helped him out with this, is the lie that there was a benefit to the slaves who were enslaved during slavery days. And we're going to stop you right there. There was no benefit to being an enslaved person in America. None. And you're not going to teach any child that without pushback. Now, one of the few black Republicans that happen to be in Florida, I don't know his name. I really don't care to remember his name. He's not my district. So I don't bother to learn black Republicans' names anymore, because it's like the gay Republican Party. I forget the name they call themselves. I believe they call themselves Log Cabin, but I don't want to get it wrong. Why? Especially after Reagan. Why? What is your agenda? You are literally supporting the party that would string you up without even thinking twice about it, because for them, they think your lifestyle is a morality issue. So I never understood LGBTQ plus Republicans, period. Like, what? Black Republicans, while I don't personally understand it, I get that, especially those who think they're protecting their money, think that some level of white adjacency will somehow protect them, act like that, especially in the South. There were always those Negroes, to use a term, that were masters' porch guys or girls. Those kind of house trained ones that they felt loyal to the cause of white supremacy because they felt protected by it. And that is the only thing I can come up with for black Republicans, especially in this day and age, especially after the last 10 years, I would say. If you are still an open black Republican, I mean, he didn't win the Herman Cain Award yet, so, yeah. And I know I'm being insensitive. Don't make fun of somebody who died. He literally died being maskless and boosterless during a pandemic, so no. No, I don't have to be nice about this. Not at all. Herman Cain fucked around and found out. And he's about the only black Republican that I even remember his name because he was so stupid when he died. But apparently this Florida one took only issue. Didn't have issue with the whole curriculum because no, we don't want to look like we're rocking the boat too much. He just had problem with the line that it was beneficial for slaves, which most black people pumped the brakes on. Even VP Harris came down to Florida and said, no, we are not doing this. You are not going to try to make it seem like all slaves were just happy to be enslaved. And of course, DeSantis doubled down on his douchery. And now he's attacking the black Republican. And need I remind you, there are not that many openly black Republicans in our country anymore because they are the most clowned upon. The few that tried it, because we had some goofus doof cat in North Carolina before I moved that was like trying to run for stuff, and he had like a MAGA hat and guns, and it was just embarrassing for him because nobody was taking him seriously. I don't even think he really did even double digits in the polls for when he ran because it's embarrassing. You're not going to attract black people with that pro MAGA stance, and white people are not going to, unless you're the level of like that walking vegetable that they tried to run in Georgia, and that was only because he was a football hero. You are not going to track with the people you think you're going to track with. White people aren't going to want you because they see black skin. Black people aren't going to want you because they know that you are definitely not the Negro we want to associate with. You're the kind of person that if we let in, you'll be inviting anybody to the cookout, and we can't have that. So no, if you're pro GOP and black in this point, or pro MAGA, you might as well just sit back and let your party do whatever. Because they're not operating on reality anymore. They're literally trying to have us all pretend like a former sitting president didn't commit domestic terrorism. And welcome to the chat, Beans. Now they're trying to push their new golden child, who's a wannabe fascist dictator of Florida, shipping migrants like they're dolls, denying the realities of American slavery, and has this whole I'm going to win the presidency by being anti woke, not reading the room. Because need I remind you that attacking people's orientation, attacking people's ethnic culture, attacking our history will only be met with pushback. And his state is constantly hemorrhaging both academics, talented people. Not LeBron James. Was it LeBron? No. It was a whole family of basketball players moved out because his transgender daughter would not feel safe there. I believe it's Gabrielle Union and her husband's family. I don't want to. Dwayne Wade. The Wade family literally had to leave their home because their governor was putting their family in danger. Not to mention the heartbeat bills being passed there, Alabama and other southern states that put women's lives in jeopardy and make it where OBGYNs don't want to work in your state. They are literally going to destroy the state of Florida. His fight with Disney has been fucking horrendous for both taxpayer dollars. Florida insurance agencies are pulling out left and right because they can't guarantee that the state will be stable enough. This is what happens when you let a right wing regressor run your state into the ground. This is why I get annoyed with the apolitical people in our country still. Because just a little bit of a political investment will bring your state to where my state is. Is Michigan perfect? No. We still have problems that we really need to address, including within the black community. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't just watch a news article where a young man killed his partner in Detroit, pushed her body out in the street, and thought, I can just keep going. So violence against women within my community is something that I would like to address, but I can't keep focused because our country is still on fire. And while I want our brother men to finally get it together so that we can hold these cats that do these abusive things accountable, we still need to get our economic things together, which reminded me of another topic that happened on Spoutable the other day that I didn't get to. I get that Bidenomics has been good for our country in whole. And I am definitely not knocking the president for what he's done on a national level somewhat. But there are still people struggling. There are still people hurting. There are still people who don't know where their next meal is going to be. That is why crime has gone up. That is why you're seeing so many news reports about robberies and home break-ins and stuff. Because people are not feeling the economic boon of Bidenomics yet. And if we had a functioning House to work with our functioning Congress, we could be passing more stimulus packages, more prudent ways to funnel the money that was going into the wrong people's hands for stupid, frivolous things into the hands of American families. If you want more American Family Relief Act, which we had last year, I was able to get kiddo a new laptop for school. I was able to keep bills afloat. I was able to keep my house functioning with that extra child credit. And that is what happens when you have a functioning government. But we need state by state all of you who are apolitical to just get a little bit more politically invested. Get us Congress people who don't just see protecting the already wealthy as their goal because they want to be super wealthy and actually work for their constituents. I don't care if that person has an R or a D by their name, even though I am more prone to voting for people with D's by their name with scrutiny, because we have seen how some people have utilized our platform and then jumped ship. We have to be more politically aware. Because if we are, we can get somewhere. We can have more. We can have a society where we have less having to cheer on stuff like the Montgomery Brawl and more people not trying it. It all ties together. A stable society doesn't do shit like this. But these little pockets of instability show where the frays are, where we need to start really patching up both our attitudes and how we invest ourselves in our society. Knowing when to mind our business and just keep shit to ourselves. Following the rules. Just because you feel like you should do something because it's always been that way, even though you know it's not right. Looking at you, lady, who thinks, I can just cut the line. I don't feel like waiting. It's just a Starbucks, and these are just people that don't look like me anyway. I should be able to do what I want. And then when you're told, ma'am, you need to go back where you were, you act out. There are hundreds of compilations now on both TikTok and YouTube of these people doing this and literally getting arrested and throwing their life away. Is it worth it? The airline freakouts, and I'm lucky. Back when I traveled with kiddo, especially, I never had anything like that. Worse, I had the ladies that would come up and tell me their whole life stories, or act like I didn't belong in the one program that I signed up for, so that I didn't have to stand in long lines at the TSA because I was a smart flyer and I had a young autistic kid and I did not want to be in line long. So I would go through the specialized TSA thing, which you pay like $45, and it was lovely because you got through the checkpoint quicker. And I thought everybody knew about that. But we did that one time, and it's the only time I had a really weird racist microaggression. This elder white lady looked at me and kiddo like, oh, who are they? How dare they get to go ahead of me and mine? Yeah, we had the specialized thing to get through the specialized security check. Because when I went anywhere with my kid, I wanted to make sure not only that we flied in comfort, so I always spent a little extra for comfort class, which meant a lot of saving and budgeting, but it was worth it to not have to worry about where we were sitting, not have to worry about people rudely trying to move us. And it was just a matter of my own preferences after trying to fly budget. Never again. And never with a child. But the level of side eye she gave me after acting chummy when she thought we were all just going to be stuck in line together, just it opens your eyes to how some people really see you like you don't deserve. It's the same people that will treat literal black celebrities as if they don't belong in first class, or anybody black. And I'm telling you right now, if somebody black is sitting in first class, they bought that ticket. And they bought it with the simple thing that it makes you mad to see us in first class. Now, I will say with the Corvette that I was bumped up to first class. My flight back about 7 years ago from Canada with kiddo, they for some reason upgraded us to first class. It was lovely. Plush blankets, fresh fruit, constant round the clock waiting on. It was really nice up there. I don't think I would ever be able to afford to do it myself, but I see why people pay for that luxury. But I'm sure there were some people looking at me and my son like we didn't belong there, and that's infuriating. I want us to get away from that. Should we have things like first, second, and economy class in the first place? That is an argument for a whole nother day. I do not like the class warfare arguments because people always try to use it to erase the very prevalent, always present racism element, the anti-black element, and I don't care about that. I don't care about your personal wealth issues. I care that there are people that look at my black skin and try to exclude me from things that bring them joy, that they think they're entitled to or deserve over us. And until we adjust that attitude, I can't be a soldier for whatever class warfare issues you want me to be on board with. Yeah, I am doing my part to teach my son not to be just a plain old cog in the wheel of this society. But it isn't easy when I've also got to teach him how to look non threatening to people who just see his features as a threat. And that is more pressing to me than worrying about how much money we have or how much money he can make. Yeah, I want a world where that isn't even a factor half the time. But if you're more worried about the fact that there's a first class than the fact that people who are black can't even sit in first class without being vehemently macroaggressed against, we're not on the same side of this argument. Because the problem for me is that it can be deadly. The problem for all of us is that there are too many people that normalize this to the point where it causes so much internalized sickness for us. And I need that to change before we have a brawl on a flight next. And with Spirit Airlines, it's only a matter of time. We've already had a cruise ship brawl. We've already had a pier dock brawl. Don't piss us off in flight because it will happen. Honestly speaking, though, to go out on a more lighthearted thing, I'm grateful to everybody who has been supportive of these casts. I know it's been touch and go lately, especially with the equipment not always working out. We are literally on the shoestring stuff right now because we're in the middle of a move and things are just going to be touch and go for a bit. But I am grateful to everybody who does their part to sit in, support the cast, whether you lurk, whether you're in the chat like beans. I appreciate you all. I appreciate those of you who watch us on YouTube. I love all of my mods. You are the MVPs of my chat always. And I appreciate all my friends who have helped support the novel. I know on Spoutable there was a thing circulating for writers, and join that echo. It's really good. If you are just a new writer or somebody who's not sure about your work, join our groups. We are always uplifting each other, giving tips on how to write out your story ideas. And what I like to tell people, because I know people are like, well, Tin, you could set up one of those masterclass things and charge people. For what? There's nothing I can tell a writer about writing that isn't common sense. If you have a story, even if you don't think it's good, if you think it's something that you would read, write it out. That is the best advice I can give to anybody. You're always going to get in your head because literally in the digital age, everyone and anyone can call themselves anything they want. But we know our levels of creativity. And I want more people who feel the creative pull of writing and artwork to just do it. This is the perfect day and age for it. Express yourself creatively. We have the path, it's open. Take that chance. I took mine and I do not regret it. I am working on the second novel as we speak. And I am more excited day by day because I'm getting feedback from people who just started reading the novel I released last year. People who are waiting in the wings for the audiobook, which is being recorded. There is so much good coming up from us. And I'm excited about that. And it's because I have the constant support of my friends. So I thank you all. I am so excited. But I looked this morning because I was just happy about being in the 190s and breaking 200. I don't think you know how much that means to me. When I did this last year, I thought it was going to be a fluke. I thought maybe a few of my friends would give me a pity buy and just leave it. But not only have over 200 people bought ebooks, the paperbacks are still selling. People have been sending me pictures of them buying them. And then I've been getting such positive feedback. And one of the reviews that really spoke to me was the guy that was like, even though it did look in some parts it was auto created, which it wasn't. I just didn't get rid of the typos. She got to the point. I liked the fact that the story just flowed together and it got to the point. There was no meandering, and that was what I felt I needed to get away from in sci-fi. I love technical stuff, but I wanted people to get into the story. It's a very character driven story. I could have spent time being a bit more descriptive about areas, but I think I left stuff vague enough to where a person can visualize where I was going themselves. You don't need to be handheld every time you read a story. I think that's insulting to readers personally. That's just how I take it. So I wanted to be a little bit different in the way I told the story. And some people, if they don't like it, they'll let me know. Do a review, let me know what you think I could have did better, because I am in the process of the second novel. But I am not one that will spend a whole chapter on weird visualizations when I'm more of a character driven story person. I always will be. I want to write fun characters, and I finally have a vehicle where I can do that. So I'm excited about this, and I thank you all for helping me get to 200 ebooks sold. And I am just excited to do more. I've got the web comic coming out soon with Carrie Bell too. She's been showing me so much on work. I am excited about that. There is a lot of good on the horizon, and it is because of y'all's support that I'm able to do this stuff. So thank you so much. But we are going to get ready to wrap this up. And I really am so, thank you, Beans. I am so glad that I was able to give out those to friends, especially my close friends who had my back before I even really started promoting my stuff. And I do want to try to get out more of those. That's why with the Indiegogo thing we're doing, there are 20 available. If you want to get yourself an autographed copy, we are not going to be doing many more of those anymore because I'm old. Autographing a bunch of books cramps up my hands, and I don't plan to do actual book tours right now because COVID's still a thing. So if you want a chance at an autographed copy, we have 20 available. We're doing the Indiegogo thing as the incentive. If you donate a certain amount, we will personalize a copy of the this version of it. We also have an editor working his tail off on fixing some of the errors, so there will be a third and final edition of the book that will be put out later on. So anybody with these original copies, they are a collector's item. Just like anybody with the first original blank white edition of the book, that is a extremely rare edition because we are not making that one anymore. And I am sorry to those of you who wanted that edition. My friend Roger looked at that because he had designed the original cover. I used his artwork for it, and he was like, I can do better. And I love the new copy of the book. So I'm with him on that. There's no reason to put out that first draft of it anymore. So anybody who has that blank slate one, congratulations. That is an ultra rare version of the book. Anybody with the current version, that is also going to be a rare edition. When we put out the fully edited version that fixes some of the errors, that will be the only official copy of Axiom that will be circulating after that. But that is down the pike. My editor's still doing his thing, and I don't want to rush anybody because I'm too busy trying to write the next book. But we are definitely going to keep it pushing, just keep so many good things going, and I am just grateful. I am full of hope and positivity. And like I said, there were a lot of troublesome things that went on this week, including that brawl, because it was troublesome that people can't just mind their own business and do the right things. But there is so much good in this world too, and I want you to hold on to that good, because when we have something like that to protect, we become better people. Hold on to that good. Have a great week, and I will see y'all Friday night for another Bonnet Chronicles. You have a great day and a great evening. I'm gonna go make some food for the family and go try to cool down. I tried wearing the tank top, but it is still hot in here, and I didn't want to run the fan. And I'm gonna go sit under the fan for a bit. Y'all all have a good one.